Okay, so today we are pulling back the curtain on a set of rules you've probably never heard of, but that, quietly, every single day, underpins the safety of modern medicine. It's called 21 CFR Part 11. You can think of it as the FDA's official rulebook for making sure a digital file is just as trustworthy as a signed and sealed paper document.
I mean, think about it. Is a digital file really as legally binding as a signed piece of paper? We trust digital stuff for pretty much everything, right? But in the world of medicine, where one tiny error could be, well, catastrophic, how do you actually prove a digital file is the real deal? How do you know it hasn't been tweaked or tampered with? That's the exact problem the FDA had to solve.
So, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the classic showdown: digital versus paper. Then, we'll get into the regulation that really changed the game, 21 CFR Part 11. After that, we'll unpack the 3 pillars that make it all work, look at some of the high-stakes mistakes that can happen, and finally, tie it all back to what really matters: patient safety.
All right, let's dive right into the heart of the issue. For most of us, a company password policy is just a guideline. It's important, sure, but it's not the law. Well, in the life sciences world, that's completely different. That password policy, it might as well be the law. These digital rules are not suggestions. They are federal regulations.
Yeah, exactly. When you're making drugs or medical devices, the integrity of your data isn't just about good business practice, it is a legal requirement. When public health is on the line, there is absolutely zero room for oops.
So how did the FDA bridge this huge gap in digital trust? Well, they wrote the rule book. It's officially called Title 21 of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 11. But for our purposes, just think of it as the playbook for making digital data just as solid and trustworthy as old-school paper.
And here it is in a nutshell. Part 11 is simply the framework that lets companies switch from paper to digital systems without sacrificing an ounce of safety or accountability. The whole point is to make electronic records and signatures every bit as reliable and legally binding as their physical counterparts.
Now, when we say electronic record, what are we actually talking about? Well, you need to think way bigger than just a PDF file. It's basically any critical piece of information that's stored digitally. That Word doc with crucial lab results? Yep, that's one. An email approving a change in procedure? That's one too. A single entry in a manufacturing database? You bet. If it's digital and it matters, it's an electronic record.
And of course, to approve those records, you need an electronic signature. Now let's be super clear. This is not just a scanned image of your name. Not even close. It's a secure, digital handshake that proves your identity, usually with a unique username and password combo. And it carries the same legal weight as putting a pen to paper.
Just look at the difference here. The old paper world was all about handwritten signatures, rooms full of filing cabinets, and trying to trace who did what, which frankly was a nightmare. The Part 11 world isn't just a digital copy of that old system, it's a massive upgrade. You get secure e-signatures, easy digital storage, and, here's the real game changer, automatic traceability. The system itself becomes a perfect, unbiased witness, logging every single thing that happens. That's what makes it not just legally equivalent, but in many ways, way more reliable.
Okay, so we get the what, but how does a company actually do this? How does it all work in the real world? Well, it all boils down to 3 fundamental pillars.
But before we get to the pillars, here's a quick example. Imagine making a batch of medicine. In the old days, an operator would have a clipboard writing down every single step by hand. Now, with an electronic batch record, a compliance system automatically logs that the operator started the mixer at 9:05 a.m. When they're done, they apply their unique electronic signature. Boom. That digital record is now a legal document, all thanks to Part 11.
And that entire system is built on these 3 pillars. First, you have the audit trail. Think of it as the system's unerasable memory. It records every single action, who did what, and exactly when they did it. Second, there's computer system validation, or CSV.
This is basically a super rigorous process of proving that the software does exactly what it's supposed to do correctly and safely every single time. And third, you have security. This is the digital fortress. Unique passwords, data encryption, regular backups, everything you need to protect that data from being lost or messed with. So, what happens when one of those pillars starts to crumble? The consequences are huge. We're not just talking about a slap on the wrist. We're talking about high-stakes mistakes, where one little slip-up can lead to a massive failure of data integrity. This right here, this is a chilling, real-world example of what can go wrong if your system doesn't have a rock-solid, unchangeable audit trail. It becomes possible for someone to just delete bad news, to literally erase a failed result and pretend it never happened. This isn't just breaking a rule, it's a complete breakdown of trust and integrity. And that leads us to some of the most common mistakes companies make. Number one, thinking that a scanned picture of a signature is good enough. It's not. It has none of the security of a real electronic signature. Number two, as we just saw, is disabling or ignoring audit trails. For an inspector, that is a gigantic red flag. And number three, sharing logins and passwords. I mean, if you sign something with a password that 10 other people know, how can anyone prove it was actually you? The whole idea of accountability just goes right out the window.
So all of this, the rules, the validations, the passwords, it all brings us to the real reason this whole thing exists. This isn't just about ticking boxes for regulators. It all points to one single, absolutely non-negotiable goal.
At the end of the day, that's what it is. Part 11 is all about protecting data integrity, because when you can trust the data behind a medicine, from the very first experiment to the final pill in the bottle, you can trust that the medicine is safe. It creates a direct, unbreakable chain of trust that starts with a secure digital record and ends with a safe patient.
You know, Part 11 was written way back in 1997. In tech years, that's ancient history. It's been incredibly effective, but now, as we're looking at things like AI, massive cloud platforms, and blockchain, it leaves us with a really fascinating question. What does the next frontier of digital trust even look like? And what new rules will we need to build?